There are some loves that don't stay loud in our lives. They don't linger as questions. They don't ache the way unfinished things often do. They simply remain quietly, like a familiar song you don't play often anymore, but somehow still know by heart. This is one of those loves. I don't think of you every day. I don't search for you in crowds. I don't replay old conversations in my head the way I once did. But every now and then, something small opens a door I forgot was still there. A certain kind of light in the late afternoon, the sound of rain against glass, a sentence in a book that feels familiar. And suddenly, I remember you, softly, not with longing, not with regret, just with a gentle awareness that once you were part of how I learned to love. We met in a season of our lives that felt unfinished. Not broken, just incomplete. I was still becoming someone I didn't fully understand. You were learning how to hold your own weight in the world. Neither of us said it out loud, but we both knew we were still growing, still fragile in ways we didn't yet have words for. And maybe that's why what we had felt so gentle. We didn't rush. We talked slowly. We listened more than we spoke. We learned each other not through grand gestures, but through small, ordinary moments. The way you folded your jacket when you were nervous. The way I always hesitated before answering questions about the future. The way silence between us never felt uncomfortable, just present. I don't remember the exact moment I realized I loved you. It wasn't dramatic. There was no sudden clarity. It happened quietly, the way most real things do. One evening, we were sitting side by side, not talking much. The world outside was moving quickly, but our corner of it felt still. And I remember thinking, without fear, without urgency, if this moment lasted longer, I wouldn't need more. That was love, not needing more, not needing proof, just being. What I loved about you most was how you never tried to complete me. You didn't ask me to become someone else. You didn't rush my uncertainty or demand clarity I didn't yet have. You simply stood near me, steady, patient, as if saying, "Take your time. I'm here." And I think that's why I still remember you softly. Because love that doesn't demand leaves a different kind of mark. We were happy in a way that didn't announce itself. There were no milestones that felt necessary, no urgency to define what we were. Just a shared understanding that what existed between us mattered, even if we couldn't name it. But time has a way of asking questions we can't avoid forever. And slowly, quietly, life began pulling us in different directions. Not abruptly, not cruelly, just gradually. I remember the first time I felt the distance growing. It wasn't in something you said, it was in something you didn't. A pause that stayed a little longer than before. A message that arrived later than usual. a look that seemed thoughtful, not absent, but elsewhere. I didn't panic. You didn't withdraw. We just noticed. And in that noticing, something shifted. There was no argument that ended us, no final sentence that closed the door. We talked, honestly, gently, about where we were going and where we weren't, about dreams that didn't align the way they once seemed to, about needs that had grown quieter or louder without either of us choosing them to. And I remember thinking, this is what it looks like when love is real, even at the end. When we said goodbye, it wasn't dramatic. No tears in public places, no promises we couldn't keep. Just a long hug that held everything we didn't say. I didn't feel shattered. You didn't feel lost. We felt grateful. Grateful that what we had didn't turn bitter. Grateful that it didn't demand to be remembered through pain. After you left my life, I carried you quietly, not as a wound, not as a question, just as a memory that felt warm when I touched it, and peaceful when I didn't. I moved on. You did too. We lived other lives, loved other people. And yet, sometimes, when I'm very still, I feel the echo of who I was with you. Not because I want to return, but because that version of me learned something important. You taught me that love doesn't have to last forever to be real. That some connections exist to teach us how to be gentle, not to stay. You taught me that letting go can be an act of care, not failure. And most of all, you taught me that remembering softly is a choice. There are people we remember with sharp edges, with regret, with anger, with unfinished questions. But you are not one of them. You live in the quiet parts of my memory, where nothing hurts. And I think that's the greatest kindness two people can leave each other. Sometimes I wonder if you remember me too. Not often, not intensely, just softly. Maybe when you hear a song we once liked. Maybe when a certain season returns. I hope when you think of me, you don't feel sadness. I hope you feel something calm, something steady, the way I feel when I think of you. This love didn't change my life loudly. It didn't redirect my path or redefine my future, but it softened me. It taught me patience. It taught me presence. It taught me that love doesn't need to be dramatic to be meaningful. And that lesson stayed. Now, when I love differently. I don't cling. I don't rush. I allow space. I listen. Because once I was loved in a way that didn't try to own me, and I never forgot that. The love I still remember softly doesn't ask to return. It doesn't knock on my door at night. It simply exists, like a quiet room in my heart I visit sometimes. And when I leave that room, I don't feel heavy. I feel grateful, Some loves are meant to be chapters, not conclusions, not promises, just chapters that teach us how to read ourselves better. And this one did exactly that. If you are listening to this now, and you are thinking of someone you remember softly, know this: that love mattered, even if it didn't last, even if it didn't stay, because love that teaches you gentleness never truly leaves. It just becomes part of how you love the rest of your life.